Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Charlie's Angels. Charlie's Angels bombed. Charlie's Angels bombed hard, and no one's surprised. I was kind of lucky. I grew up in Tasmania, and we had our own TV station, and it was kind of small. So we actually got a lot of syndicated shows that were cheaper, basically. So shows from the 60s and 70s I grew up watching and didn't even know they were old. So I have a slightly different view of TV in that. And I grew up with Charlie's Angels, and I love Charlie's Angels. I don't have the whole series on DVD. I've got some best ofs and stuff like that. I've been meaning to get it. It's one of the few shows I don't have. But I grew up watching it on TV, and I watched it on our cable channel Foxtel, which I had years ago before I moved into the apartment I'm in now, where I actually can't have any cable, so I had to go without. But I watched Charlie's Angels there as well, so I loved the original series. And I went right out and saw the movies because I love Drew Barrymore. Cameron Diaz was okay, and Lucy Liu, I loved her from Ally McBeal. So I mostly went for Drew. I loved it. I was surprised they didn't do a third film. I wanted three. I felt they deserved a trilogy. I don't understand why a lot of people don't like those movies. Apparently, they have an audience score of 40 and 45 on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't understand. I'm like, I thought everyone loved it. I did. My friends who went to see it, I think we all loved it. So I'm kind of surprised. Um, but this new film, actually, I forgot. There was also a revival TV series that I never even saw it, and it didn't go anywhere. I think it lasted 8 episodes and nobody cared. I'm not sure what happened with that. This movie, however, I mean, frankly, for the same reason as Dark Fate, I didn't go. Well, for starters, I didn't know about it for ages. There was nothing that drew me to it, and I'm a white male, and I was basically told, you're not welcome. It's not made for you, and that. Whenever you say that, people say you're sexist and paranoid and conspiracy theorist and all that crap. But the reality is, they marketed this film, built and marketed this film for one audience, one quadrant of the audience or whatever. So people are talking in terms of when you do films like the original Charlie's Angels movies, you make it for everyone, so you get as many people as possible. This film and some other films lately have been, if not built for and targeted for specific audiences, the marketing has been sort of one note. And this film was marketed like Dark Fate. Basically, men aren't welcome. This is a film for women. It's a feminist film. It's got an agenda. It's a feminist piece. It's activism. Now that worked for Captain Marvel, although I suspect Captain Marvel was only successful for two reasons. One, it was linked to the Avengers, and the idea was you had to see it before you saw the Avengers Endgame, which is the only reason why I saw it, because I was afraid I'd miss something, and there was nothing, you did not need to see that film. And it wasn't a big agenda feminist activism piece, it was more just Brie Larson's personal views and the way she dealt with the media that got that film that reputation. And it did a lot of money. But all the other films since that have tried that same tactic to try and basically attack men and say this is for women, they're trying to they're trying to get an audience that doesn't exist. Basically, women aren't the main audience for action films for sure, and films in general. It's more it's not a huge difference, but it is more men. And when you alienate the male audience, it's pretty simple. If you just focus on one area, one corner of the audience, you're only going to get a small number of people. And if those people don't show up because those people aren't responding to your marketing or your idea, like if you then you're screwed. And this is what happened with this film. They marketed it for just one area of the audience, a female demographic of action film fans, which, if it exists, doesn't actively support its own films. So, yeah, it made 8.6 million domestic in America, which is really bad. 7.8 in China, and its overall worldwide was only 27.9 million. Now, fortunately for them, they made it on a budget of about 48 to. People saying the budget was between 48 and the mid 50s millions. And the marketing, apparently they cut the marketing in half at some point. I think they saw the where it was going, so they wanted to cut their losses and not promote it as hard because they kind of knew. Yep. So I'm not surprised. No one's surprised. Everyone's attacking it. It seems to be two trains of thought with the film. The feminists who are saying it's brilliant because of its agenda, because of its gender politics, not because of the actual acting of the film or the directing or the writing or anything. And then people who are just looking at the film itself and saying it wasn't good enough, it wasn't marketed well, it didn't have big actors, it just, no one wanted it, no one, people would be more interested in a third film with Drew Barrymore and that cast than this new cast of actors who no one really cares about or really knows. They weren't big stars, they weren't box office draws. Um, and just no one really wanted it. People wanted a fun action movie. Instead, they got what I've heard some people say is a very mixed bag where it goes between fun, light-hearted chick flick to hard action, and it's a bit of a clash and it just doesn't work and it doesn't know what it wants to be. So it's getting genuine criticism, and the only people praising it are praising the agenda, not the actual film itself. And those people are not going out and seeing the film. They're praising it for its wokeness, but they're not actually going to see it because they're not the audience, and the audience didn't come. So it's a bit sad. I hope they reboot it again one day with actors I care about and invite me to come instead of telling me I'm not welcome. Because I saw all the other films, I saw the other Terminator films, but I understand my place as a white male. I'm not welcome in the current cinema climate. So they don't get my money because they're telling me not to come. Well, I'm not going to come, and a lot of people aren't either. So you get what you wish for. Make films for everyone. Everyone's happy. That's pretty simple. But that's it. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, tell me how wrong I am, how right I am. Comments are fun. Thanks. Bye.